Thank you. Good morning, everybody out there in podcast land. We are broadcasting on many platforms, including Apple, iTunes, I think Spotify now, iHeartRadio. Check us out on iHeart. Hey, follow me. Follow this show. Support this stuff. Show's not been doing really great as of late. Of course, you know, that's the results of my efforts that I've been putting forward lately. I haven't had a lot of time to do this show lately, and I'll tell you, like, I'll be like getting ready to do it like one day, and you know, I'll just get too busy and won't be able to do it that day, and I'll put it out to the next day. Then I've got all that information, news, and current events, and all that to cover. Next day rolls around. What is it? It's just more than you can even sit here and talk about. More than you can shake a stick at, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not blowing this out of proportion. But yeah, it's just never ending. One news propaganda story after another. Mueller, Trump, impeach, da-di-da-di-da. And then what do they do? They ban Alex Jones. Why do they ban Alex Jones? And I have thought about this, okay? And we're going to talk about this. We're going to go pretty in depth with this stuff. You know, I've listened to Alex Jones quite a lot. Infowars is one of the main things that fully brought me to attention. I mean, I was becoming awake before I started watching Infowars. You know, I take my vitamins this morning along with my breakfast. But anyway, yeah, I've watched a considerable amount of Infowars, and you know what's talked about on that show is not stuff that's you know totally far-fetched and fantasy, that so far-fetched that you know it's pretty much impossible that it's true. You know, there's a pretty good chance that we're being conspiritalized and everything, and just everything that happens, everything that goes on. You have the communist Chinese who are now at pretty much the communist Chinese government are pretty much running Apple now, as Tim Cook has moved operations back overseas to China, of course. And you got all these suicide nets in their Foxconn factories and whatever. You got these what do they call them, mobile execution vans that goes around and just kills people at will and harvests their organs, and you know gives them to the highest bidder. Then something other that I haven't even had time to look up. You have I think it was China who had been threatening our naval ships. this is something other that I've not even included in the news list for today. But yeah, make sure I got the you got China's Air Force quietly adds new J-16 fighter jets to push the envelope. Expanded lineup of multi-role all-weather aircraft will help to launch strikes deep into the enemy territory and strike key strategic assets. Analyst says that wasn't what I was looking for. Yeah, here it is. They're after I don't know how many years that aviation has existed, and America has been flying aircraft overseas and stuff, but all of a sudden they don't want no U.S. planes in the South China Sea, and they've been warning. China sent 6 warnings to a U.S. Navy plane, but the U.S. didn't back down. See if I can find. You can tell how totally unscripted we are here, folks. Well, not totally unscripted, but we don't go off no teleprompter, I can tell you that. A U.S. Navy P-8A Poseidon reconnaissance plane flew past China's garrisons in the Spratly Islands, giving CNN reporters aboard the aircraft a view of Chinese militarization in the region. Flying over Chinese strongholds on Mischief Reef, Johnson Reef, Fury Cross Reef, and Subi Reef, CNN spotted, quote, large radar installations, power plants, and runways sturdy enough to carry large military aircraft, end quote. At one outpost, onboard sensors detected 86 vessels, including Chinese Coast Guard ships, which China had been known to use to strong-arm countries with competing claims to the South China Sea. Lieutenant Lauren Collin, who led the U.S. Navy crew, said it was, quote, surprising to see airports in the middle of the ocean, end quote. The Chinese stationed in the area were not exactly kind hosts to the uninvited guest, warning the aircraft that it was in Chinese territory. An argument an international arbitration tribunal ruled against 2 years ago. The Chinese military ordered the U.S. Navy plane to, quote, leave immediately and keep out to avoid any misunderstanding, end quote. 6 warnings were issued, according to CNN, and the U.S. Navy responds the same every time. Quote, I am a sovereign, immune U.S. naval aircraft conducting lawful military activities beyond the national airspace of any coastal state, unquote, the crew replied, adding, quote, in exercising these rights guaranteed by international law, I am operating with due regard for the rights and duties of all states, end quote. Friday's incident comes on the heels of a report by the Philippine government revealing that China had been increasingly threatening foreign ships and planes operating in the South China Sea. And you notice this comes right on the heels of all these tariffs that Donald Trump has been placing on China as of late, which, you know, is great. I'm so proud of our president to be standing up to the Chinese and the people who have sold our country out for decades, if not half a century or more. 70. Yeah. But anyways, that's how that goes, you know. Okay, got this ready now, I think, finally. But yeah, we've been having problems with China. What all haven't we been having problems with? We've got people in our own government who are totally against us. We've got lawmakers who are against us. People who were elected to office who don't give one crappy little turd about us, okay, folks? And not only that, well, you can't even be heard on social media, something other that's free to all users now, something other that's made to draw as many users as they possibly they draw in millions of users and provide means of communication and file sharing and, you know, video conferencing, that kind of thing. You know, keep up with your friends and family, share photos, and whatever. And in return, they make millions. Maybe if you're people like Zuckerberg, you get paid billions of dollars a year now in ad revenue. Not only that, they get money from the government, you know, from where they give all of our information to any corporation who wants it, not to mention the CIA, the NSA, under the Patriot Act, among other acts, you know. This is no joke. This is something that is not totally unheard of, like they would like you to think. Just Google any of this stuff if y'all don't believe me, folks. I've done my research. I get too tore up when I sit here and try to talk about this stuff. And let me tell y'all something. I mentioned that the show hasn't been doing so well here as of late, but I'll tell y'all, this isn't something that I want to do. Okay, folks. Maybe when I was a little kid, I used to dream about being famous. First, I wanted to be a basketball player, and be Pistol Pete, and Michael Jordan all in one, and that never worked out. It wasn't from lack of trying. It wasn't from lack of skill, lack of practice. It was from being discriminated against. I felt like it was like all these schools in this piss poor county that I went to. They all the coaches had their picks, and they were friends with all the rich parents, and so this and that, so to speak. So I never got to play much basketball, So I ended up quitting in like 7th grade, and then in 8th grade. It just sucks when you go to practice every day. You don't miss no practice. You make the grade, so you're allowed to play. And keep in mind, folks, by this time I was pretty good at basketball. I could hold my own. I could shoot. I could dribble. I was the fastest ever was, but like I said, I could shoot and I could move. And I got heart, folks. I got heart that nobody else possesses. I'll put it like that. I'm not here to brag on myself. I'm not here to say, hey, I'm Superman, da-da-da. I'm nothing special. But, yeah. But I go to practice every day and run my little butt off, till I would about vomit, okay? And then I would sit on the bench the whole game. If I was lucky, I would get to play at halftime during something other they like to call intramurals. It's like a exhibition, whatever. So I quit, man. To hell with that. That ain't right. That ain't right, folks. That is not right. And hey, I don't care if some of y'all ex-coaches are listening to this show right now and hear me say this. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. Don't do that to man. That's kids we're talking about, man. That's what it's about. Win or lose, what the hell, man? What the hell? Like we're competing for some national championship or something, and if you don't win, your job's on the line. Yeah, whatever, man. I don't even want to talk about that. Okay. Then you got all that fake stuff that they teach you what time you're going to school. All this false indoctrination of evolution and Darwinism, and everything came from nothing. It literally the universe used to be the size of a dot on this page, like this comma right here, and then it just all of a sudden one day it decided to explode, and we got the Big Bang, and boom, there's everything. There's all this energy and all this genetic DNA information to all of life, and hell, we probably started from bacteria and then evolved into an ape, and then evolved into a Neanderthal or a Homo erectus or whatever. Now we're Homo sapiens. Well, Does that make any sense at all? Do y'all believe that? Really? I'm taking phone calls this morning, by the way. That number is right here over my shoulder. Well, the only live streaming I got going on is the podcast. So if you watch this video on the YouTube channel, you're not going to be able to call in by that time. However, you can call me anytime you want at this very number, 276-524-0307. I'd love to hear from y'all. We'll talk about evolution. We'll talk about false indoctrination in schools. We'll talk about anything y'all want to talk about. I'd rather talk about the news. I'd like to talk about what we can do to keep fighting these people, okay, folks? Because they're not going to let off on us. It's anti-conservatism, anti-Christian, anti-gun owners. They don't like us, folks. They think that they're the ruling class, and God, which I've read a lot of the Bible, and God has taken many a king and dethroned him. Okay, folks. That one guy, I can't remember his name right off. He was king of Babylon, and he pretty much turned him into a wild animal, and he ate grass for 7 years because he refused to praise God. Just like all you so-called scientists and evolutionists are doing right now, But you take the Bible and you study it. You study the Scripture, and you study what our God has done throughout history, and it can't be fake, folks. It couldn't be made up. Okay, let me explain this to you. They all refer to Nostradamus as a prophet or whatever, so to speak. But let me tell y'all something. Nostradamus may have got 1/4 of what he said about 1/4 of the way right, okay? That's about how much of his prophecies came true. He said there would be 3 antichrists. I don't remember who they were, but one of them's name was Hister? He called it. They say he was talking about Hitler, but he said Hister. And I know that the German language is a little messed up, and not only that, when you go to converting English to German, it's a little bit even more messed up. So Nostradamus was what you call a false prophet. He was an occultist. He got his prophecy from studying the stars and all that BS, folks. God, he took a man named Moses, or not Moses. Well, he used Moses too, but it all started, I guess, pretty much with a man named Noah. Well, it really started with a man named Adam, but we'll skip all that. But he took Noah, and Noah, he said, was so righteous. He said Noah was the most righteous man on the earth. Well, there was so much sin now in the world that he said Noah and his family was the only ones that should be saved. And You look at the flood. We do serve a great God, folks. And if you don't believe me, all you have to do is take a look around you. Look at this world that He has created, this vast universe of endless mystery, okay? But our God is so powerful now. If He wanted to kill everybody on earth except for one family, folks, He wouldn't even have to snap His finger. All He would have to do is think about it or speak of it or, whatever. And they would all just drop over dead. Think about it. God is so complex in His thoughts that He wants to leave proof of what He does, okay? And you can look at this throughout the Bible. He wants to leave proof of His existence, proof of His works, so that we don't have to question this stuff. And that's a lot of why I was talking about the accuracy in prophecy compared to people like Nostradamus and the prophets of the Bible, because you take the prophets of the Bible and you add them all up and you come out with about 100% accuracy, okay? And that's right down to the letter. Down to the letter, folks. John the Baptist father, I can't think of his name right off, but God sent an angel to him and, was telling him that he would bear a son, his wife would bear him a son. And he didn't believe the angel. And so the angel took his voice and he couldn't speak. And I can't remember if it was right before, I think it was right after John's birth, when he came in to see him. Somebody asked him what they would name him, and he remembered what the angel said about his name should be John, and that's what he said. That was the first time he had spoken in 10 months right there. The course of his wife's pregnancy, he never spoke a word according to the Bible. Because that he questioned he questioned the message that the Lord had sent him, and I guess he questioned, how him and his wife would have a son at that point in their life. And I know I'm hard on Jews, I really am, because you look at history, man. Jews are the most ignorant people. Excuse me. I don't mean to be so harsh. I don't. But you just look at history. How many times have they questioned God, the works of their God, their ancestor Abraham's God? Okay, God took Abraham was the same way. He let him have children. Our Bible says as numerous as the stars. And Abraham was old, folks. It's untelling how old he was when he begot Jacob, or whatever his name was. He also had a son, I think, named Ishmael. But I think Jacob was the one that God told him to make an offering of him. But yeah, we serve a great God, folks. I don't question that one bit. Okay, I really don't. there's just no way that you could question God, okay? He's done too many works, folks. I am a living example of this, okay? If it was not for God, if it was not for Jesus, I would not be here, folks, okay? I am a living testimony of what a great Lord that we serve. My doctors could tell you that. My family could tell you that. Anybody who's known me for a while could tell you that. I had cancer when I was a baby. The doctors, they weren't giving me no chance of living. And I lived. Praise God. I had a lot of people praying for me. I had people in many states praying for me. But yeah, like I said, our God never does nothing what He don't leave proof of His works. That's like the flood. You look at the layers in the earth. You can tell there was a flood. Every culture has stories of a flood, okay? This is nothing new. And you might want to get familiar with the days of Noah, because Jesus said, just like in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. So, and I don't think he was just talking about sin either. I think he was talking about a lot of things. There was a lot of playing God that was going on at that time. There was a lot of human sacrifice taking place. It's on telling what I was going on during that time. But yeah, this will be episode number 76. The Alex Morgan Show. Y'all need to share this show all you can. Y'all need to listen, okay? People like Joe Rogan. You think Joe Rogan cares about you all? You think Joe Rogan cares about his listeners and wants to keep them informed? And no, man, Joe Rogan is just riding the wave and getting richer by the day. Okay, he don't care about you all. He's censored just as much as people in Hollywood, just as much as the news media, okay, folks? The news media, Hollywood, your music stars, they're all fake, okay, folks? They're all a big bunch of fakers. They couldn't tie their own shoelaces, probably, man. And it's amazing what that they do behind the scenes, okay? I've heard some strange stuff, but anyway, I watch a little bit too much YouTube and this and that and the other, and so. But this is Sunday, August the 12th. This episode's called Censor This, in honor of Alex Jones, you know. And you take Alex Jones. Now, whether you agree with a guy like Alex or not, that is really not relevant here, okay? What is relevant is that he has the right to speak, okay? Sure, he's got his own radio show. Sure, he's got his own websites, you know, this, that, and the other. But they've been demonetizing people's videos on YouTube for years. According to him, Infowars videos were demonetized like 90-95%. According to people like Mark Dice, his videos are demonetized like 90-95% too. So this is what I'm talking about. And unless you get on there and go searching for my YouTube channel, you're not going to be able to find me. The only Alex Morgan you're going to be able to find is that brunette soccer star that plays for the U.S. Okay. That's the only Alex Morgan they're worried anything about. Okay. That's why I got my little alias going on, like, you know. I bet there ain't another Big Al Morgan in 10 countries, okay? Maybe even the whole world, so, you know. So, but I don't call this the Big Al Morgan Show. This is the Alex Morgan Show. I've kind of been thinking about going away from that and maybe calling it AM Live or Alex Morgan Live even, or call it Hillbilly Al. I don't care what you call it, you know. The name's really not that important to me. I know that it could be, you know, it could be so important. It depends on if new viewers even, you know, check it out even. But hey, you guys know me, okay? And I don't want to be some famous butthole, some little rich butthole. If I had plenty of money, folks, I'm not going to get no limousines. I'm not going to eat no damn caviar. I'm going to work for the Lord, okay? I'm going to put that money to work for the Lord, okay? Because I've decided to live right, folks. Just as right as I possibly can. Listen, we're all sinners. It's something that's genetically implanted into our DNA. We can't help it. Adam brought sin into this world, and by bringing sin into this world, they also brought death into this world. If you read your Bible, you would know that. But you know, back in them days, they lived a lot longer than people now. Today, you're lucky if you live 80, 90, 100 years. Back in his day, they lived 900 years, okay? I think he was like 300 or so when he had his first kids. I know you have Cain and Abel and all that, but he also, I think, had a son named Ham. No, that was Noah. Never mind. I can't remember all of Adam's sons. But that's not important. Let's move on. Remember, go to GoFundMe.com/Alex Morgan Show. You can go to Patreon.com/Alex Morgan Show. PayPal.me/AMorgan83. Any of those links, you can send me $1 or $2. I'm not gonna gripe and complain too much over just sending me $1, just send me $2. I don't care what you send me. Just help me, folks. I need your help. You think I would be sitting here asking y'all for help if I didn't need help? Look right here. I've paid my bills once this month, but well, no, I'm not paying them this month. But yeah, I've got an electric bill right here. That needs paid. I got a phone bill that needs paid. Yeah, I got bills to pay. I need equipment. I need computers. I need cameras. I need people to help me. I need folks. I need a miracle. I need y'all to pray for me. Yeah, but let's get into some news. In case you're wondering, that clicking noise, that's my air conditioner running there in the background. This is from the New York Times. Let's see here. I'll get the video up here for you TV viewers. This article, Facebook banned Infowars now. So officially they said it was Zuckerberg's ultimate choice. Like I said, yeah, he's still got his radio program and all that, but he's banned off of Facebook, YouTube, Google, Apple, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, everything, okay? So, that's big, okay, folks? You take me, I don't got no radio show. I'm not on the radio on a daily basis. I've got this podcast, and, I fund it personally, or I wouldn't have it. And, if they ban me, whatever, I'm not going to have it either. But, I'm not going to shut up. I'll put it like that. They can ban me if they want to. I don't care. This is why I'm looking into other alternate sites like Real.video. I suggest that y'all start using it compared to YouTube. They've got a lot of the same videos on there as YouTube, as a lot of the YouTube users are also looking for alternate means of sharing their videos and having them viewed. They've got a program going on where you can make money for people watching your videos. You can't, users can't subscribe to your channel at this point. It's just they mostly go by views. And yeah, I've been using Gab that's Gab, Gab.ai. That's the link. I've been using it for, I don't know, about 5 or 6 months now. I like it pretty good. There's a lot of people on there. There's not like a lot of people from around here, but yeah, there's a lot of people on there, and I've got quite a few users on there. But anyway, this is written August 10th, 2018 by Kevin Roos at the great New York Times. Late on Sunday, after returning to his hotel room on a trip away from home, Mark Zuckerberg made a decision he had hoped to avoid. For weeks, the Facebook chief executive and his colleagues had debated with what to do about InfoWars, the notorious far-right news site, and Alex Jones, InfoWars' choleric founder, who became famous for his splinter-flected rants and far-fetched conspiracies, including the idea that the Sandy Hook massacre was an elaborate hoax promoted by gun control supporters. Mr. Jones is just one Facebook user out of 2.2 billion, but he had become symbolic of tech platforms' inconsistently and reluctance to engage in a misinformation war. And think about that. I'm going to stop right there and let you think about that for a minute. They're saying that Jones was engaged in a misinformation war. I don't mean to laugh. But really I kind of do. Listen, even if fluoride is healthy, okay, even if there are no such thing as chemtrails and those little exhaust of condensation in the air are just CO vapors or whatever, man. If Monsanto makes Kool-Aid, okay. Which, by the way, they just settled a multi-million-dollar lawsuit with a groundskeeper who contracted cancer. Not to get away from the subject matter. You watch InfoWars and you know what I'm talking about. Alex Jones, he sells water filters and dietary supplements, and yeah, man, what the hell? What the hell? And he sits and talks about stuff that could be going on, man. Whether it goes on or not, like, that don't mean that people has to watch his show. That don't mean that people has to believe what he says, even. I mean, and CNN have been promoting taking him off the air for years, or off YouTube, or yeah, they got their YouTube channel like flagged twice in a week for some kind of BS. Oh my God, man! I'm for somebody if I got on YouTube every day and just told you all 100 lies, had a show called 100 Truths, and it was actually 100 lies, would they take my show down? Or my channel down? Think about that. Just think about that. If you had a church meeting, and during that church meeting every week or whatever what it was, y'all talked about possible things that the government could be doing to harm you and your families, and then they didn't like it. Well, that means they could take it down. It's what they disagree with, folks. That they don't want you to hear about, to talk about, to think about, to share your thoughts and ideas. This tells you, folks, that they're so scared of us that they're shaking in their boots, man, to take poor little old Alex Jones off of Facebook and YouTube. What the hell? Think about that. That tells you how scared that the elite really are. That tells you, folks. And the ultimate plan is to shut up the conservative Christians, okay, before the midterm of 2018. That's what this is about. This is about taking your president and impeaching him, okay? Setting up a clear path to victory for the Democratic Party, the great Democratic Party who gave us Hillary Clinton, who gave us Bill Clinton, who gave us Obama, who gave us Bernie Sanders, who the millionaires and the billionaires, okay? Yeah. Hey, I know I'm starting to get loud here, folks, but that is about near to nothing when it comes to your political well-being, to the health and welfare of your families. That's about as near to nothing as the scum on the bottom of my shoes. You hear me? Yet they're your saviors, folks. Oh, you better vote for them. You better vote for them. Oh, yeah. In all these years, folks, you've had choices like Al Gore or George W. or who was it? Bill Clinton or old man Poppy. Yeah, Poppy Bush. Yeah. Who's going to win that? And oh my God, have you ever been watching American Horror Story? Oh my God, man. It's never been so plain, folks. The writing is on the wall. They're scared of us. All of us gun owners, all of us flyover country. They hate us, folks. I'll tell you that. But not only do they hate us, they fear us. Yeah. And all y'all have to do is go vote. And I know, folks, this is a game that's been played throughout history. You got ham or you got spam, and spam is salty and ham is salty, and spam is pretty much manufactured, and ham is pretty much manufactured, and spam is not so good for you, and ham is not so good for you. And that's your choices, folks. Go vote. But not no more, okay? Donald Trump's in the White House. Support Donald Trump. Support people that Donald Trump supports. because that's what they want to do, folks. They want people in the House. They want people in the Senate who are going to see that his impeachment takes place. And you know what? They may impeach Donald Trump. They're liable to impeach Donald Trump, okay? And that's just because of all this stuff that you know they've got going against him right now, and how everybody's against him right now, and you know in the establishment, okay, folks. That's why it's so important to go vote, folks. That's the only way they can stop us. If the Democrats take over the House, the Senate, I truly fear for our country. I fear for everybody, folks. I really do. And I feel like that little boy on American Horror Story, man. They scared that little boy to death because Donald Trump was elected president. I'm gonna be that's gonna be videoized here very quickly. By the way, I'm working on that. Got some other things in the works, folks. I got too much in the works to do. I got this podcast. I've been trying to get a job. I've put in like 23 applications here lately. Now I'm just thinking about going back to the mines for a while, a couple of years, whatever. Do what I have to do, take care of my little family, whatever. Okay, and I'm sitting here telling y'all about all this stuff and putting this out here, folks, for you, for us, for your children, for every one of us, folks. And that's why it's so important to share these links, to listen to the podcast, to share it, to make it go viral, as they call it. Make it go viral. Or viral. Yeah, there you go. Man, these people make me sick. They want us dead. They want us to die, whatever it takes. And you look at the stuff that they put in the foods, and the stuff that the FDA allows, and all this pharmaceutical BS that they claim that you can't do without, that you can't live without, that you'll die if you don't take it. Yeah, take their cholesterol medicine, folks. It eats away your fatty tissue in your brains. Okay, it's no wonder that everybody's falling over dead. That nobody seems like they quite got the sense that they used to have 10, 15, 20 years ago. Okay, folks, this is important. Wake up. Oh, give me a call if anybody's out there listening. I bet there's not even one GD listener, okay, to this live podcast. Call me. Grow a pair and call me. 276-524-0307. I'm going to finish this damn article and we're going to roll on. We're just getting into the second hour here on the Alex Morgan Show. We're talking about censorship of InfoWars and Alex Jones, and I'm going to continue reading this article from the New York Times and about Zuckerberg, you know, with all Berg, you know, making the painful decision to have to ban Alex Jones and InfoWars. Yeah. And his inconsistency and reluctance to engage in a misinformation war. The pressure on Facebook to do something about him had intensified after executives gave a series of vague and confusing answers to lawmakers and reporters about the company's policy. Misinformation was allowed to stay on the platform, they said, but hate speech wasn't. So users dug up and reported old InfoWars posts asking their removal on the grounds that they glorified violence and contained dehumanizing language against Muslims, immigrants, and transgender people. Can you believe that? They dehumanized and glorified violence against Muslims, immigrants, and transgender people. Now, I want to ask you, who could be violent towards a transgender person who wasn't being like violent with you, or like touchy feely, or stepping up the line somehow? And then, oh my God, man, can it's just all a big effing lie. Okay, whatever. These posts clearly violated Facebook's hate speech rules. What did? And in a normal situation, a low-level content moderator might have reviewed them, found that they qualified, and taken them down. But Mr. Jones was no typical internet crank. He has millions of followers, a popular video show, and the ear of President Trump, who once told the provocateur that his reputation was amazing. He did. Trump did tell him his reputation was amazing. And he ain't got no bad reputation. I mean, come on, folks. It's this is, like I said, this is a guy who sells water filters now and dietary supplements. Okay, he sells colloidal silver and iodine, vitamin B12. Come on, what the hell? That's what this is about. It's about the word CURE. Okay? And that's what these pharmaceutical drugs fail to be able to say they do. Okay? And I'm not going to say the word, because if you go to mentioning the word CURE in the same sentence with CANCER, you're going to jail. They're going to take everything you own. It don't matter if it's mustard seeds or pomegranate seeds or what have you. Okay? Do your research, folks. Do your God-given research. Read your Bibles. Humans weren't even allowed to eat meat during the Old Testament days. Okay, folks. The Jews ain't allowed to eat pork right to today. Okay, and there's a reason. A pig is a nasty animal. Think about it. Have you seen them slaughter a hog? Have you seen these people slaughter a hog in North Carolina and South Carolina? Not a hog, but 100 hogs. Okay, have you seen what they do with them? They put them in a bunch of wheelbarrows and wheel them out in the hot sun. Do you know what they do to these pigs' boils? Do you know what they do? They don't remove them, they lance them. They let them drain. They let that infection drain into your meat. They take that meat to keep it red, to keep it fresh, and they put chemicals on it, folks. Otherwise, it's going to turn brown within, 4 hours, 5 hours? Think about it. Americans, you're so stupid, you're so brainwashed. Hey man, I know. I'm not sitting here putting down on you. I want you to raise up. I want you to be somebody. I want you to succeed. Okay? This is me talking to you here, and I know I'm getting excited, man. But it's a damn shame I'm sitting here having to get tore up over something like Infowars getting canceled, folks. Okay? It's a shame. It's not canceled. You can still download the app or whatever if you want to watch the show. And they don't just ban anybody, okay, folks? Because just anybody can come back, okay, and make up their own little personality, whatever. I can be Joe Bob Briggs from whatever, and I'm a bad man, okay? You wanna watch my show? Think about this, folks. What happened to Duck Dynasty? Did Duck Dynasty start to promote the Bible? Did they start to support Donald Trump? What happened to Duck Dynasty, folks? Think about that. Oh my God, think about that. They hate us. They want us all dead. They want us to shut up. They want us to stay in the damn backwoods for the rest of our lives till we die. If we live another 5-10 years, that is. All this damn harp they got going on and them chemtrails. And it's a damn shame I have to get on here and lose my temper. But, you know, somebody's got to do it, man. Somebody's got to do it. And y'all don't listen to half what I say. Y'all don't listen. You'd rather listen to something like Joe Rogan, who used to not, believe that we went to the moon, but all of a sudden now he believes we went to the moon, Now he believes it, By the way, Joe Rogan is Alex Jones' one of his best friends, okay? Joe Rogan sits on YouTube and smokes weed and da-da-da-da-da and talks about how cool UFC is and oh my God, he's cool too because he trains with them. He's got them on the show anytime he wants. He can get anybody on his show he wants to, folks. What the hell? And he don't even have a damn radio show. Is this not odd? I mean, he's probably got the location going on, whatever. He lives in a lot better part of the country than I live in, and he's Joe Rogan. He's a stand-up comic. He's been in a movie or two, probably. I can't remember, but yeah, I think so. But you don't see him. You don't see him talking about banning him, do you? No, that's because he got on board. He shut up. He quit talking about Soros and he don't talk about how much he supports Donald Trump anymore. No, he shut up. That's because Joe Rogan is a sellout. Duh. He's one of them. You don't believe me? You don't have to, but that's my opinion. And if you got any other damn opinion, then you're a damn dumbass. The situation was volatile enough that Mark Zuckerberg got personally engaged, according to two people involved in Facebook's handling of the accounts. He discussed InfoWars at length with other executives and mused privately about whether Mr. Jones who once called Zuckerberg a, quote, genetically engineered psychopath, end quote, in a video, was purposefully trying to get kicked off the platform to gain attention, they said. Oh, Mr. Zuckerberg got an engineer by training and temperament. Mr. Zuckerberg, an engineer by training and temperament, has always preferred narrow, process decisions to board subjective judgments. His equalization of infowars took the form of a series of technical policy questions. They included whether the mass reporting of infowars posts constituted coordinating, quote, what is that word? BRIGADANG. God, man, hey, brigade, quote, brigade. I'm sorry, folks, it's early and I've not slept that much lately, and this took me all morning to get ready for this show. I've not had time to read most of these articles that I've got for this morning, if I can even get to all of them. This is supposed to be a 3-hour broadcast. I got the hottest woman, one of the hottest women that ever was made on this planet, residing with me. She's laying in that bed right now waiting on me to quit doing this little podcast and making this little video and telling y'all folks about this stuff, so I can come in there and lay down with her and watch TV for a while and rest. Da-di-da-di-da. You know, you think I want to be doing this? Really? Trust me, I've got better things to do. In ways, but in ways I don't. Okay, folks, and that's why I take time to do this. That's why I put all of this damn work into this. Okay, folks, and I don't know if you noticed that, but it just got louder. Okay. I don't know what caused that. It turned, one of my knobs went up, or yeah, it must have been what it was. Let me turn that back down. Listen, folks, it's important, okay, that you listen to this damn show, that you believe what I say, because I ain't got it in me to lie to you, okay? I've told you that throughout the broadcast. I got to looking at my damn iTunes this morning. The people that have been listening on there, like, nobody been listening on iTunes. What the hell, man? Tell you little brothers and cousins and neighbors and aunts and uncles that got iPhones and iTunes. Hey, they banned Alex Jones, and he's pretty cool, you know, whatever. But he ain't no Alex Morgan, okay? And I ain't talking about the little female soccer player, okay? This is a bad man who I'm not half myself on this show, and I don't say half of what's on my mind, but I got a pair. I'll put it like that, okay, folks? I got a pair. And I use them, okay? You look at my eyes, okay? You look at my eyes. Do I look like the kind of guy that's going to tell you a damn lie? It's not in me to lie to you, okay? You see these words on this screen? I wanted to make sure that they was big enough for you to see them. Type in Zuckerberg banned Alex Jones, New York Times. You don't believe me? Read it for your own self. Mr. an engineer by training. Listen at how this is written. And these people get paid big money. It's on telling how much somebody makes working for writing for the New York Times in a year. I bet you these people makes what, 200,000, $250,000 a year easy. And people like me living in poverty can't even get his teeth fixed or feed his little family the way they should be. Huh? Think about that. Think about that. You think I won't work? You think I'm sorry? Man, there ain't a job nowhere in my town. I don't got no high school diploma. I quit high school 20 years ago, whatever. Almost 20 years ago. Twice. My senior year. And I started working underground. And I got laid off and whatever. And Obama became president. And they wasn't no minds, folks. Okay? I ain't worked since I ain't worked in about 8 or 10 years. I lost my Social Security. Because Obama didn't want coal mines in Kentucky. Now think about that. I lost my Social Security benefits because Obama decided that we need to get away from the whole fossil fuel thing. Okay? That's the way Obama felt, you know, and so you know, we can all go along with that, can't we? Right, folks? Am I right? And that's why I put so much feeling into this stuff, okay? I've had a hard life and whatever, but I ain't gonna kill myself, and I ain't gonna get on the air here and cry like that big crocodile tear like Obama did, you know. And I ain't Slick Willie neither, okay? And I ain't got a lie to tell you. Listen to this stuff. Brigading tactic in common harassment campaigns. Executive also debated whether Mr. Jones should receive a, quote, strike, end quote, for each post containing hate speech, in parentheses, which would lead to removing his pages as well as the individual post, or a single collective strike, which would remove the post but leave his pages up. Late Sunday, Apple, which has often tried to stake out moral high ground on contentious debates, that's so funny, I'm sorry, removed InfoWars podcast from iTunes after seeing the news that Mark Zucker, Mr. Hubbub, sent a note to his team confirming his own decision. The strikes against InfoWars and Mr. Jones would count individually, and the pages would calm down. The announcement arrived at 3 a.m. Pacific time. In the days that followed, other platforms, YouTube, Pinterest, MailChimp, and more, said they too were banning InfoWars. The notable exception was Twitter, which decided not to ban the site or Mr. Jones. The company's chief executive, Jack Dorsey, tweeted a veiled shot at the way his rivals handled the situation. Praise you, Jack Dorsey. Praise you. I guess. I don't know. You're a effing crook too. You shadow banning SOB. Huh? What, man? You're talking about people who's got everything that they ever wanted, but they have to ban. They have to censor us. They have to shadow ban us. They have to ban Alex Jones because he talks about conspiracy theories. That's like me sitting here saying, well, now I think that somebody shot JFK, but now he couldn't have been Oswald, you know. I mean, think about that. It's a fact to say that JFK was shot, but it's not a well-known fact that JFK was shot by anyone other than Oswald. You know, think about that. Think about that. Think about that. It's a damn conspiracy theory to think that anyone other than the Taliban was involved in 9/11, and that goes for Iran or whoever. That goes for our own government. It's a damn conspiracy theory to think that anyone else was involved with the Taliban. Think about that, folks. It's a damn conspiracy theory to think that anyone else but that little big bug-eyed effing what's his name committed Sandy Hook. What was his name? I can't remember these cutouts names. I can't remember this stuff, man. And it's a damn conspiracy theory to think that anyone else besides that old man was involved in the Las Vegas shooting. Think about that, folks. Think about that. After you heard, sounded like you was playing damn Modern Warfare. About at least two shooters. And no, he wasn't sitting there going, with one in each hand either. Wake up, people. Wake up. It's, and not only wake up, the first thing you need to do is you need to bow down and pray to God, okay? Well, even the non-believers. The non-believers need to allow themselves to imagine that there could be a God, okay? That's just the way I feel about it. They need, if they're going to be bold enough to deny God's existence, then they need to be generous enough to say that, hey, even though I don't think there's a God, that don't mean there's not a God. There could be a God, you know. How in the hell do they know? They don't know. They don't know. I'm sorry, folks. I want us all to come together here on, you know, good like-minded beliefs and stuff like that. But folks, we've got to come closer to God. Okay, we've got to come closer to one another. I would love to preach the gospel continuously, nonstop, and do that, but it's just not. It's. I don't think it's all that simple. I mean, God, if God showed me that that's what, you know, I needed to do, then that's what I would do. But it's a lot deeper than just the gospel and the scripture and the word of God. It's the acts of these dumb people, okay, and what goes on earth, okay. You've got to have both a strong spiritual religious community and also a community-based friendship / mutual caring for one another's well-being and your family, their families, members and all that. You gotta care about one another, folks. Because if you don't care about anybody else,
How can you care anything about your damn self? Think about that. We're not little children, folks, wondering, sitting here all against one another, brainwashed, indoctrinated, little brainwashed kids, okay? We're adults, okay? Or we're young and we're old and we're healthy and we're unhealthy and we're tall and we're short and we're fat and we're slim and we're pro sports and we're against sports and it doesn't matter, folks. We're Christian and we're atheist and we're Americans and we've got rights and we can just give our rights up. Or we can just stand. We don't even have to fight with these people, okay? I'm not asking for violence. I'm not saying let's get violent here against these people. All we have to do is stand up, folks, and let them say that we're not going to take their bull crap. We're going to vote for somebody else, and they're fired. And this other guy's hired, this Joe Smo, this common guy right here is hiring. Just give him the job, let him move to the state capitol and the governor's mansion and Washington D.C. to represent us in the Senate or whatever, man, and let him be taking care of our tax money. And let his legislative career history, whatever, be all about his children and your children and my children and everybody's children. And let's all of us go to work every day make our economy just as strong as we can. The Bible hates pride, but listen, we're Americans, okay? And we don't want to see our money go overseas. Do you want to see some big fat Chinese guy with the top 0.25% of the top 3% wealth? Think about that. 1/4 of the world's wealth. Yeah, and think about that. 3% of the world is richer than the remaining 97%. Think about that. And then to have 1/4 of 1% of that 3% of their money. Think about that. Do you want to see people like that living in China and sitting over there and just getting fatter every day, and one day, hey man, they need a kidney, they need a liver. Why, let's get on the black market and get us one from the organ harvesters, the mobile execution mans, and da. This is all Alex Jones sits and talks about. What's so bad about that? Google that stuff, folks. I might sit here and said something that those algorithms are gonna seek like a missile, whatever, man. That's just what's that thing called where you're risk? Yeah, that's just a risk that I've been willing to take. I've thought about that all morning, talking stuff. And telling y'all, man, hey, our future looks awful dim if we don't support, Donald Trump, if we don't support ourselves. It looks awfully bleak, to say the least. Okay, it really does. I don't know how else to put it to y'all. Okay, I really don't. It's actually scary. Okay, it's really scary as hell. I don't know how else to put it to y'all. I really don't. It's a crazy time we're living in. I don't know how else to tell y'all that. I really don't, man. It's crazy, okay? It's crazy to think about, okay? And then, oh my God. But anyways, I got cameras all over the place, and I really need to plug my video camera back up, because it's better than a doorknob. But let me get back to this article right quick, and maybe I'll play a little video for y'all for a minute. Now, cut off from most of his audience, Mr. Jones will have a new charge, a new course. He has already stepped enthusiastically into a role as a free speech martyr. After the ban took effect, InfoWars slapped a quote censored end quote label on its videos and launched a quote forbidden information end quote marketing campaign. And conservatives, even some free speech advocates on the left, worried that social media companies may be entering a new censorous era. Senator Ted Cruz, the Republican from Texas, paraphrased the famous Martin Niemöller poem about German accommodation of Nazism. Quote, first they come for Alex Jones, end quote. It's true, I mean, yeah. First they come for me, or first they come for the Christians, and I wasn't a Christian, so I said nothing, and then they come for the whoever it was, the blacks, and I wasn't black, so I didn't say nothing, so. But then one day they come for the Jews, and then they got me too, and, that's the way that goes. I don't know. Whatever, Daddy-O. Ted Cruz is just cool like that, I guess. But then again, he's just, he got elected office. He had the cameras in his face that day, and what else? What else, my nigga? Social media executives have a history of going on great lengths to I'm ignorant. Assuage, meaning make an unpleasant feeling less intense. That's a new word I never knew. Assuage fears of anti-conservative bias, and this week was no exception. On Thursday, Richard Allen, a Facebook vice president of policy, published a blog post about the company's commitment to free speech, with the exception of violent threats. Now, who did he threaten? Think about that. Exception of violent threats and hate speech, he wrote. Quote, we lean towards free expression. It's core to both who we are and why we exist, end quote. Mr. Dorsey also appeared on Sean Hannity's radio show, where he gave reassurance that Twitter does not discriminate against conservatives. Never did that. slippery slope fears about mass censorship by social media platforms are probably overblown. For starters, InfoWars presented an unusual case because of its site, the extreme nature of its content, and ferocity of Mr. Jones's critics. Mr. Zuckerberg does not have time to educate every dispute over hate speech on Facebook, nor does he want to. In fact, taking action against InfoWars could allow social media giants to avoid future conflicts over extreme content by setting a new, hard-to-beat standard for unacceptable toxicity. Yes, Jew hater, Mick racist is bad, end quote. They may say, quote, but he's no Alex Jones, end quote. Many other internet conspiracists have learned how to tiptoe on the edge of platforms, rules without breaking them. Speaking in code about Pizzagate, I'm just reading an article here, and I didn't say that. That was algorithms. I'm trying to tippy-toe your... Listen at this. Like it's cool to be a fool or some shit. Okay, excuse my language, but God. Or saying things like, I'm not saying he's a crisis actor, but if he were, whatever, ... end quote. Yeah. A crisis actor. I'm sorry, I get. And then I think about those little algorithms, like me just sitting here reading this article and them the ones putting it out, and then me sitting here saying it and getting, banned because I tell you what, I'm getting tired of this stuff. I really am. They're lucky. They're lucky I'm not Alex Jones. I'll tell you that. They're lucky. If Alex Jones was half as cool as I was, by God, no. If Alex Jones was me, I was Alex. I'll tell you this. If I had his money and they did this to me, it would be Alex book, okay? It would be Alex tube. It would be, okay? And then they could take their little shadow ban and go get screwed. Okay? That's the way I look at it. One lesson Mr. took from the InfoWars saga said the people involved in the handling of Mr. Jones's Facebook accounts is that the social media's policies are overly complex to need to be simplified. Privately, company officials have also downplayed the InfoWars ban, saying they don't represent a watershed moment in the online free speech debate, but are rather a matter of how to enforce Facebook's existing policies. This is a convergent narrative, of course, that a company that would rather haggle over terms of service and discuss the power of governance of its platforms. There are legitimate questions still unanswered about what to do about the huge, unaccountable corporations that control large pieces of our modern communications infrastructure. Both fans and critics of InfoWars can possibly agree that a system in which one executive can decide to shut off a news organization's access to a large portion of its audience is hardly ideal. There are also valid questions about why InfoWars got so popular in the first place, and whether action maximizing platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and are designed in ways so that people like Mr. Jones are incentivized to push boundaries of unacceptable speech. After all, these platforms did not just host InfoWars content, but those who were seeking it, they actively promoted it to millions for years through algorithmic feeds and recommendation engines that decide which videos to show you next. Could these platforms be redesigned so that the next Alex Jones never gets that kind of boost and remains on the ideological fringes? Is that possible, folks? Is that possible? I'll tell you what. GD pathetic is what they are. Excuse me, Lord. I'm sorry, Lord. Forgive me, Lord. Forgive me, Lord. Call me 276-524-0307. I'm sorry. I gotta share this stuff personally though. I ain't no Alex Jones, and I can't afford a damn crew. Okay, I can't get enough YouTube views to become monetized, to have ads on my channel. Folks, I realize that it takes dedication and years and years of building up a reputation and a presence online. Okay, folks, I realize that. I know that I'm not going to get anywhere overnight. I realize that. Okay, folks. But with your help, there ain't nothing that I can't do. Okay? And if you need anything, if you need me to do anything, you can call me in the middle of the damn night. And say, man, I need this, okay? But don't come around me trying to steal, trying to bother and take from me, take food off my family's table. Don't do that, okay? Don't. I love y'all. I pray for y'all from now on. I'm gonna quit praying for y'all. If I can't be for you, I sure ain't gonna be against you. Okay, that's just the way I am. That's just the way that I am. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, folks, at Alex Morgan Show. Follow me on Facebook, at Alex Morgan Show. Like me, go to facebook.com/The Alex Morgan Show, I think. This is my like page. You can friend me on Facebook. I'm not going to ignore you. Just don't message me and talk some BS. Talk sense to me. Act like somebody, and I'll treat you like somebody. Okay. Okay, that's all I ask when it comes to my social media. I'm not here to meet girls and da-da-da-da, man. I want to do right. I want to settle down. I want to raise a family. Hey, I'm not into that. I've done enough of that in my life to make a young boy sick. Okay, I'm through living like that, folks. Believe me, okay? Believe me. That's not me. That's not me. Just really, just.
President Putin, thank you for speaking with us. I am going to get to some specifics about the summit in a moment, but let's begin with the big picture. President Trump said in his news conference that our relationship has never been worse, but that changed a few hours ago. How has the relationship, big picture, between the U.S. and Russia changed today?
Primarily, I think we should be grateful to our staff and our aides who spent several last months working with one another, and not just in the preparations of this summit. I'm referring to the effort of our agencies across the board, who worked in even the very sensitive areas, sensitive both for Russia and the United States. Primarily, I refer to the counterterrorism efforts. Today, talking with President Trump, we agreed that terrorism is a greater threat than it seems at first. Because, God forbid, if something happens, if there is a terrorist attack using the weapons of mass destruction, if they get their hands to weapons of mass destruction, it may have devastating ramifications. And so our military, our special agencies do establish cooperation in this particularly important area. A case in point would be our cooperation in Syria. Although there are some understanding missing to some extent, especially in terms of a broader picture, but this cooperation is going on between the military, between the special services. That is our counterterrorism effort in the general sense of the word. But then, in 2021, the New START treaty is about to expire. So what we're going to do next? I reassured President Trump that Russia stands ready to extend this treaty, to prolong it, but we have to agree on the specifics at first, because we have some questions to our American partners. We think that they are not fully compliant with the treaty, but this is for experts to decide. We also discussed the Iranian nuclear program. We discussed what we can do to improve the situation with North Korea. I've pointed out, and I will point out again, that I think that President Trump contributed a lot, and he did a lot, to settle this issue. But in order to achieve complete denuclearization of the peninsula, it will take international guarantees, and Russia stands ready to make its contribution to the extent that will be necessary. So we can say that there are several issues of crucial importance for us, this and some others. We are starting to achieve some understanding, which gives us sufficient ground to say that a lot of things changed to the better during today's meeting.
But do you see the summit as a turning point, an end of the effort by the West in recent years to isolate Russia?
I think you see for yourself that these efforts failed, and they were never bound to succeed. I mean, take a look at the scale, at the sheer size of it, the importance of it in terms of international security and the economy. Take its contribution into the global energy market. It's too big to be sanctioned and isolated. Speaking of the things that do unite us, though, and of the things that require our joint efforts, it brings us to the idea that such attempts to fight one another should be ended, and rather look for ways to address common differences, to address common issues and challenges. How to overcome this, how to address these common concerns. So I think this is the beginning of the path. This is a start. We did make a good start today.
Mr. President, one of the issues that is standing in the way of more progress, as you know, are the allegations of Russian interference in the U.S. election. You have repeatedly said, and you said again today, that this was not the action of the Russian state, that if it was anything, it was patriotic Russian individuals. I have here the indictment that was presented on Friday from the special counsel Robert Mueller that says that 12 members of Russian military intelligence, the GRU, and they talk specifically about units 26-165 and 74-455. They say, you smile, let me finish. They say that these units were specifically involved in hacking into Democratic Party computers, stealing information, and spreading it to the world to try to disrupt the American election. May I give this to you to look at, sir? Here?
Да, положите, пожалуйста. Да. Значит, позвольте мне,
Well, let me
отвечая на ваш вопрос, начать
start answering your question
с другого.
with something a little bit different.
Смотрите, все говорят о
Let's have a look at it this way.
вмешательстве России.
People are talking about the purported interference of Russia with the election process in the United States. I've mentioned this in 2016 and I want to say it now again. And I really wish for your American listeners to listen to what I say.
Россия, как государство,
First of all, Russia as a state has never interfered with the internal affairs of the United States, let alone its elections.
But sir, this is the indictment. It shows I have 12 names here. It talks about specific units of the GRU, Russian military intelligence. Is the GRU not part of the Russian state?
Я сейчас вам отвечу.
I'll get to it. Just have a little bit of patience and you'll get a full answer to your question.
Вмешательство во внутренние
Interference with the domestic affairs of the United States. Do you really believe
что с территории Российской Федерации
that
можно было повлиять на выборы?
someone acting from the Russian territory could have influenced the United States and influenced the choice of millions of Americans?
I'm not
This is
asking whether
utterly
they
ridiculous.
influenced. I'm asking whether they tried.
Я сейчас отвечу.
I'm about to answer.
Сейчас отвечу. Вот это, во-первых, все-таки
Well, this was the first point that I'm trying to make. If you'll have some patience, you'll hear the entire response.
вот я говорил в 2016 году, хочу повторить сейчас.
I said this in 2016 and I say it now. The idea was about hacking an email account of a Democratic candidate.
Была какая-то подтасовка фактов.
Was it some rigging of facts? Was it some forgery of facts? That's the important thing that I'm trying to, the important point that I'm trying to make. Was this any false information planted? No, it wasn't. These hackers that are being discussed, and I'll get back to it. Just bear with me for a moment. As we're getting told, they hacked a certain email account, and there was an information about manipulations conducted within the Democratic Party to incline the process in favor of one candidate. And as far as I know, the entire party leadership resigned. They admitted the fact of their manipulations. So that's one thing, that manipulations with the public opinion should stop. And an apology should be made to the public at large, instead of looking for the responsible, for the party at fault. And now to the mentioned things. As I said in the press conference.
Вот сейчас господин Миллер.
But Mr. President, may I just say, you're indicating that they stole real money, not counterfeit money. So are you saying it's okay because of the facts that they took from the DNC, from John Podesta, it was their real emails, so it's okay to hack and spread this information out and interfere with the election?
Послушайте меня.
Well, listen to me, please. The information that I am aware of, there's nothing false about it. Every single grain of it is true, and the Democratic leadership admitted it, the first point. Now, the second point. If you don't like my answer, you can give it to me straight away, and I just keep silence. And if you want Americans to listen to my opinion, could you please wait for a little bit? And now for the specific accusations. First of all, Special Counsel Mueller has accused a certain private company in Russia that is not even a very big enterprise. Its core area of competence is a restaurant business. And now, this company hired American lawyers and defending its integrity and reputation in an American court. So far, American court has not discovered any trace of interference whatsoever. Do you know it or not? But let the millions of Americans know about it. And now to the individuals from the Indictment Act. We, with the United States, we have a treaty for assistance in criminal cases, an existing treaty that exists from 1999. It's still in force, and it works efficiently. Today I referred an example of its efficient work.
No, and I'm not trying to interrupt.
Why would Mr. Miller...
I'm not trying to interrupt or be
Mr. Miller...
disrespectful.
Well, let me finish. Just let me finish. We're trying to interrupt, but I will finish. Why wouldn't Special Counsel Mueller send us an official request within the framework of this agreement? Our investigators will be acting in accordance with this treaty. They will question each individual that American partners are suspecting of something. Why not a single request was filed? Nobody sent us a single formal letter, formal request.
Let me just say, I don't want to interrupt, and I want to ask one question and move on to other subjects. Why do you think Robert Mueller issued this indictment 3 days before you and President Trump met here at the summit?
Мне это абсолютно не интересно.
I'm not interested in this issue in this single bit. It's the internal political games of the United States. Don't make the relationship between Russia and the United States, don't hold it hostage of this internal political struggle. And it's quite clear to me that this is used in the internal political struggle, and it's nothing to be proud of for American democracy to use such dirty methods in the political rivalry.
Do you think that Mr. Mueller is trying to sabotage the relationship?
Я не хочу давать альтернативу работе.
I don't want to make any assessments about his operation. It is for Congress that appointed him to do this, to assess his performance, and I think court actually had some doubts about the due procedure about appointing Special Counsel Mueller to the post that he now holds. I think that American court now believes that it was done with the infringement of the American legislation, but that's none of my business. Please address it yourself. There is a due procedure within this treaty. You can use this procedure to address us.
I thought the news conference today, my opinion, was a bit curious because President Trump spent more time criticizing the Democrats and asking about the Democratic server than he did in criticizing Russia and asking about the GRU. There are many theories in the United States about why President Trump is so reluctant to criticize you, and I'd like to ask you about a couple of them. One is that you have something on him, compromise. The other is that as a skilled politician and a former KGB officer, you know how to play him. You use phrases like fake news and deep state. And my question is, do you find President Trump easy to deal with?
Значит, что касается, первое, что касается...
Well, the first point I'm about to make is, why did we talk about like the polite people? Why should this come as a surprise? Was it worth going all the way to Helsinki, going through the Atlantic, to just insult one another? And well, it's not exactly the diplomatic standard in the world. There's no need to go and meet personally if you just want to insult another person. We met to try to find a way for improving our relationship and not aggravating it or destroying it completely. And the second part of the answer is whether we have something on them. We don't have anything on them, and there can't be anything on them. I don't want to insult President Trump when I say this, and I may come as rude. But before he announced that he will run for presidency, he was of no interest for us. He was a rich person, but, well, there's plenty of rich persons in the United States. He was in the construction business. He organized the beauty pageants. But no, it would never occur to anyone that he would think of running for president. He never mentioned his political ambitions. It sounds like it's another nonsense. I just mentioned this in the press conference. St. Petersburg Economic Forum was visited by 500 businessmen. Pretty much every one of them is a major industrialist, a tycoon of greater scale than President Trump. Do you think that our special services actually organize surveillance on each and every of them? Well, unlike you, unlike the United States, we don't do this. We don't have enough resources, we don't have enough manpower to organize the total state of control. That's not part of our plans. And it's clear that we did nothing of that kind against Mr. Trump.
I'd like to ask you a couple of specific questions about NATO. If NATO were to move to add either Ukraine or Georgia to the alliance, how will you respond?
Отрицательно.
Well, negatively.
Ситуация в НАТО складывается.
The situation around NATO is going along those lines. I'm pretty clear. I have a pretty clear understanding of how their decisions are made. I know about the consensus rule, but before the consensus-based decisions are made on the organization-wide basis, there is an opportunity for bilateral contacts with member states, which was done with Poland, with Romania, which now station and deploy elements of the strategic anti-missile defense of the United States. For us, well, it's a direct and immediate threat for our national security. So, accordingly, moving this NATO infrastructure towards our borders would be a threat, and the reaction would be extremely negative.
Secondly, there are two major NATO exercises later this year, Anaconda and Trident Juncture. Did you and President Trump discuss those, and did he give any indication, as he did with Chairman Kim of North Korea, when he agreed to stop participating in war games, did he give any indication that the U.S. might not participate in these two NATO operations?
Нет, мы это не обсуждали.
No, we haven't brought this issue up, although it is a concern for us since the NATO is expanding its infrastructure and facilities. The number of servicemen is on the rise in the regions where they shouldn't be. They increased this manpower to the tune of 10,000 people. This is incompliant to the treaties between Russia and NATO. And this is a destabilizing factor which we have to factor in, but we haven't mentioned this today with President Trump.
I want to ask you about Russia's involvement in Syria. According to independent monitors, since the civil war began in 2011, more than 500,000 people have been killed, and Russia has bombed civilians in Aleppo and Ghouta. No qualm about killing innocents?
Вы знаете, когда идет война,
you know, when there is a warfare going on, and this is the worst thing that can happen for the humankind, victims are inevitable, and there always be a question who's to blame. I think it is the terrorist groups who are to blame, who destabilize this situation in the country. The ISIS, the Jabhat al-Nusra, and the like. Those are the true culprits. And that's exactly the answer that American military give us when they hit military civilian objects in Afghanistan or other countries. And it might seem dubious to some people, but in fact it is true. In terms of Syria, American aviation bombed the city of Raqqa, bombed quite heavily, and today we discussed the need for humanitarian operation to be put in place, and I hope we'll make progress in this area. We would really like for the plans that we discussed today to be carried into life.
But the UN Commission that is investigating Syria says, and I quote their words, there was deliberate targeting of civilians by Russian pilots flying Su-24 and 34 military aircraft.
Вы знаете, это все подлежит проверкам и оценкам.
Well, all of it can be verified and assessed, but I just want to get back to Raqqa. Well, aircraft that bombed Raqqa were not...
Ghouta?
Нет, мы можем говорить и об Алеппо, и...
Well, we can discuss both, but should we also throw in Raqqa for a good measure? We shouldn't take things out of the context and completely forget about others, shall we?
I don't think that there has been the bloodshed in Raqqa, that there was the hundreds of thousands of people who were killed in Aleppo and in Ghouta and in the entire civil war, 500,000 people. By some estimates, 20,000 children have been killed by the Assad regime and his supporters in Moscow. Are they terrorists?
Вы глубоко заблуждаетесь, и мне очень жаль, что вы не знаете реальность.
You are completely deceived, and I'm very sorry that you do not know the real situation about Syria. A huge proportion of civilian population of Raqqa died. It was erased from the face of the earth. It reminds Stalingrad from the World War II, and there's nothing good about it. And I reiterate, the blame is on those individuals who take guidance from their terrorist beliefs and use the civilian population as hostages.
At the G7 summit, President Trump reportedly told the other leaders that Crimea might as well be Russian because everybody there speaks Russian. Did he give you any indication that at some point, not today, but at some point he might recognize Russia's annexation of Crimea or lift sanctions or move to bring Russia back into the G7, now the G8, all of which happened as a result of the annexation of Crimea?
Во-первых, хочу вас поправить.
First of all, I'd like to make a correction. The joining of Crimea to Russia is not an annexation. Well, the in democratic governance, free manifestation of a person's will is a referendum, and people in Crimea went to a referendum and voted for joining Russia. Well, if this is annexation, what is democracy then? Secondly, we are aware of President Trump's posture that that the Crimea is part of Ukraine. He told me this today. I responded with the words pretty much similar to what I said to you, and I think we should leave a discussion at that.
All right, we're running out of time anyway. Let's move on. Last year, Defense Secretary Mattis said that Russia is the greatest threat. Russia is the greatest threat to the United States. And he has since made it clear an even greater threat than terrorism. In March, you introduced a new generation of Russian missiles, including what you called an invincible missile, you said, that could evade, defeat all of our missile defenses. And you even released a video that showed this super missile flying over the United States and hitting Florida, very near where President Trump's estate is at Mar-a-Lago. Aren't you escalating the arms race, and aren't you being deliberately provocative?
Что касается видеоматериалов,
as far as the footage is concerned, well, they do not specify that the missile is about to hit the United States. You have to look at it more carefully. Secondly, all of our new offense... There was not signed Florida. There was not a caption saying Florida. Take a more careful look at it. There was never a caption Florida.
No, but you can see it on the map.
It was clear that it was flying over the eastern coast of the... No, it couldn't be seen on the map. Just take a closer look. And don't try to scare your population with make-believe threats. And now, I'm pretty sure I can give you as a present this footage. And now to the offensive weapons. They were not born out of nowhere. They were born as a response to the unilateral withdrawal of the United States from the ABM Treaty. From the very beginning, we've been warning our American counterparts that we are not going to join this global anti-missile system. We see no purpose for it, but we'll do everything to make means to overcome it. Well, the response of our counterparts was that the United States designed this anti-missile defense system because it's not designed to be guided against you. In 2003 or 2004, I think I mentioned one of those systems, and there was no response from our American counterparts. So what we did now, we just demonstrated that we do have means to overcome the system. It's just a negotiating item. I do hope that in terms of strategic stability, we'll be able to find a mutually acceptable solution for both sides. And that applies to the INF Treaty and to the intermediate and shorter range missiles as well.
I have limited time. I'd like to ask you about the alleged INF violation, but I want to move on and ask you three final questions about Vladimir Putin. When you were first elected in the year 2000, you were portrayed as a democratic reformer. You talked about the value of European culture, and you did not even rule out becoming a part of NATO. What happened?
Ну, во-первых, со мной ничего не изменилось.
Well, nothing changed about me.
Я каким был, таким остался.
I am the way I am. I am the way I was. I was elected as the president of the Russian Federation as an adult man. And in this age, your preferences, beliefs, and attitude towards life does not change that much. But we have to react to what's going on around us. Well, take the NATO expansion to the east. When the Soviet Union was withdrawing troops from Germany, Russians should know, we were told that Russians should know one thing, that NATO would never extend beyond the German borders. Within 2 waves, it happened. Despite our principled posture, nobody gave a damn about our posture. Well, we didn't want the United States to withdraw from the ABM treaty, but they did. Despite our requests not to do it, all the requests were denied. And the examples abound. Take events in Yugoslavia. You know that President Yeltsin was completely against this conflict, and the only legal way to use the force is through the sanction of the Security Council of the United Nations. And examples abound, examples of events that deteriorated the status of our relationship. Or take the application of U.S. legislation extraterritorially beyond its borders. Well, it was not us who made these steps. You asked me about Crimea, you asked me about Ukraine. It were not us who organized a military coup in the country that completely ignored the constitution. It was not us who was giving pies on the city squares. It is not the way to deal with such issues. And where it happened exactly by our border. So nothing happened to me. What happened to you is what I want to know. What happened to the West?
You say nothing happened to you, but I need to ask you domestically, not internationally, domestically inside Russia. Why is it that so many of the people that oppose Vladimir Putin end up dead or close to it? Former Russian spy and double agent Sergei Skripal, the victim of a nerve agent attack in England. Boris Nemtsov, a political opponent, gunned down near the Kremlin. Investigative reporter Anna Politkovskaya, murdered in an apartment building. Why is it that so many people who were political enemies of Vladimir Putin are attacked?
Во-первых, у нас у всех много политических противников.
Well, first of all of us have plenty of political rivals. I'm pretty sure President Trump has plenty of political rivals.
But they don't end up dead.
Но не всегда. А у вас что, президентов не убивают?
Not always. Well, haven't presidents been killed in the United States? Have you forgotten about it?
Где убили?
Well,
В США или в России?
has Kennedy been killed in Russia or in the United States?
Что вообще происходит?
Or Mr. King? What happens at the clashes between police and civil society and several ethnic groups? Well, that's something that happens on the U.S. soil. All of us have our own set of domestic problems. But going back to what happened in Russia, yes, we do have crime, and unfortunately, there are some crimes, and at some extent, Russia's statehood is maturing, and there are some side effects, and we persecute people responsible for these crimes. But since you mentioned the Skripal case, we would like to get at least some sort of a document and evidence about it, but nobody gives it to us. It's the same thing as the accusations with meddling into election process in America. We've recently heard that 2 more people suffered from the same nerve agent that is called Novichok, but I've never even heard the last names of these persons. Who are they? What?
Supposedly they picked up the bottle that was used
Exactly.
to attack Skripal. May I ask you one last question, sir?
Послушайте, нет, давайте мы с этим...
Well, no, let us seal this issue first. What kind of package, what kind of bottle, what's the chemical formula, who got it? Or maybe there are other reasons of death. Well, maybe it's the internal reasons within the United Kingdom, but nobody wants to look into the issue. Now we just see the ungrounded accusations. Why is it done this way? Why our relationships should be made worse by this pretense? We have to build them with the UK as well.
Finally, I know one of the reasons that you wanted to do this interview was so that people in the United States and the West could get a better understanding of the real man. You are often portrayed as a strong man, an autocrat, a person who is a symbol of Russia's strength. Are those fair characterizations of you, sir?
Я не претендую на то, чтобы быть символом России.
I'm not laying a claim to be this kind of a strong man that I'm being portrayed, but from the point of the view of legal symbols, the flag, the hymn,
Символом страны. И не только России, но и любой другой.
all of them symbolize the country, and it's the same for any country. The anthem, the national flag, and the Institute of the Presidency, they portray Russian values and what it's ready to go for, what it's ready to stand for, in order to build a relationship with such a great country as the United States. I've mentioned the economy before, and I mentioned these facts to President Trump. Let's look at our market, for instance. Europeans sell hundreds of billions of dollars worth and about 1,500 billion euro of services. The number for China stands at $57 billion. And what about the United States? 12 billion dollars for the United States and $5 billion worth for services. So that's the direct result of this policy, including the sanctions. In fact, the United States have driven off their companies from the Russian market. So they left, and this vacuum was filled by their rivals, by their competitors. Some of them lost their investments. What was that for? We are interested in developing our relationship in the area of security, of strategic stability, economic challenges, strategic challenges, and any other challenges that we have. I think that today with President Trump we've made the first step in this direction.
Mr. President, thank you. Thank you for talking with us.
Thank you.
Спасибо.
There you have it, folks. Old Meatface making a fool out of himself in front of the Russian president without even knowing it, without having enough sense to, catch on or anything. Just whatever, man. I don't know about him. I really don't. But I hope that y'all been enjoying this episode of the Alex Morgan Show. I know I've spoke a lot, but I've got a lot off of my mind and expressed it. This is something from the Daily Caller. I don't even know if it's all that important or not. Trump denounces all types of racism and acts of violence ahead of Unite the Right rally. President Trump denounced all forms of racism and violence in a tweet. Just saying, quote, that the riots in Charlottesville a year ago are results of senseless death and division. We must now come together as a nation. I condemn all types of racism and acts of violence. Peace to all Americans, end quote. And so do I. I totally condone violence. Totally. Don't get us nowhere. I love y'all. I hope y'all love Jesus, because Jesus loves y'all. Just want y'all to know that. I hope that y'all share these links. Tell your friends about the podcast, the videos. Follow me on Facebook. I've been getting in a lot of groups on Facebook. That's a great way to just like come together with like-minded people. That's a good way to share your links, to share your ideas. That's awesome. Here's from Yahoo News. This is about that Monsanto owner. Owners call weed killer, quote, safe after jury orders big payout. That's a $290 million payout for failing to warn a dying groundskeeper that the product might cause cancer. While observers predicted thousands of potential future claims against the company in the wake of Monsanto's defeat, Bayer, which recently acquired the U.S. giant, said that the California ruling went against scientific evidence. Yeah, imagine that. Quote, on the basis of scientific conclusions, the views of worldwide regulatory authorities, and the decades of long practical experience with glyphosate use, Bayer is convinced that glyphosate is safe and does not cause cancer, end quote, the company said in a statement. Well, why don't they drink the stuff? Why don't they say, hey, look, it don't hurt you, watch this? Why don't they do that? Because they want you to eat these GMOs. They want you to grow these GMO crops so you'll fall over dead, and they'll keep getting richer and richer. And they can patent. They can take and patent something other that God made, that they added a little gene from bacteria that glyphosate won't kill. So they can patent this stuff and sell it to y'all, and y'all eat it. And one time it's growing, you can spray it with Roundup, and it won't kill it because it's got that gene in it that they whatever spliced into the DNA, the genetics, whatever, playing God, whatever. This is the elite, folks. This is their ideas, but this is just the start of it, okay? The computers and it's all, they want to merge it all, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, it's coming. There's a little girl here, I think, that wants to say hi. Come here, Coco. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come here, ball. Come here, ball. Come here. Bring it to me. My little dog. She's in there wanting to play. I love y'all, hey. I won't take nothing from y'all, okay? I really wouldn't. And I hope y'all know that. You all are the reason I do this. I don't want y'all out there using these GMO products and foods and eating them and dying or spraying Roundup on your lawns and ending up with cancer one day. I don't want that. That ain't what I'm about. If you die, that don't help me. How does that help me? Don't. It don't. It can't. It's totally, totally unethical to think about. Like, yeah. Think about that. Just think. I love y'all, man. I'm here. I'm here to educate y'all. I'm here to tell y'all all I can about the Lord, all I can about what's going on in the world. Hey, get educated about this stuff, man. Just what's going to happen. It's all going to burn. All this, folks. It ain't worth nothing. Everything you're looking at, this beautiful, beautiful earth and all this great, great technology that they've invented. It's not worth nothing. It's all going to burn. Okay. Check us out. Daily Caller. Make the screen bigger for y'all. I know what you podcasters are sitting there thinking, well, if he makes the screen bigger, I still can't see it. But y'all need to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, type in the Alex Morgan Show. And this is episode 78. But anyway, check it out. Check that big missile out. Come out the back of that truck. You can't even see the truck for all the smoke and the fire from the tail of it. Iran runs first missile test since U.S. withdrawal from nuclear deal. Just a day before new stricter U.S. sanctions are implemented against Iran, the Islamic Republic have test-fired an Iranian Fatachi 110 short-range ballistic missile, the first such test in at least a year, and the first since the United States unilaterally withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal. There's a quote from Fox. Iran test fires ballistic missile for first time in 2018, official says. There's a link. You can look for Iran to go to war with, I'd say with Israel, and then the next, I'm going to say 8 or 9 months, lot going on over there right now, folks. Especially on the Gaza Strip. Look into that. If you don't believe me. Getting ready to hit 2 hours. Let's check and see. Rand Paul urges Trump to pull security clearances. That was where he was wanting to get rid of all these Obama plants. Iran's Rouhani warns Trump about, quote, mother of all wars. Let's see if we got a video here. Yeah.
Now we've got former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, now Chief International Security and Diplomacy Analyst for NBC News and MSNBC, retired 4-star Navy Admiral James Stavridis. Admiral, great to have you with us this weekend. Rouhani made a statement. The president came back and he went full Trump. You should never go full Trump, but he went full Trump, promising fire and fury against Iran. There you go. See it? All caps, full Trump. Never go full Trump. I'm wondering what our allies, again, I hate to keep repeating the question, but things do keep getting worse. He insulted our NATO allies. Now he's suggesting war with Iran, 6 months after he suggested war with North Korea, before giving North Korea the summit that they had wanted for 40 years. What do you make of the president's latest threats of war?
Well, to put it in the movie context, Joe, we really need less the Fast and Furious and more the cool hand Luke. He's got to settle down. And I think he mislearned from the North Korea experience, as all of us do at times. He kind of did the whole fire and fury number on Kim Jong-un. He thinks that's what brought Kim Jong-un to the bargaining table. I would argue there's a number of other factors, including China's role, that brought Kim Jong-un to the table. But now we see Kim Jong-un was the Potemkin village of negotiators. He's not going anywhere with those nukes. However, Trump is going to queue up that technique, try and use it on Iran. Terrible time to do it, because you absolutely have to have allies, partners, and friends if you're going to go into another war in the Middle East, God forbid. So this is probably the worst moment to use that style, and it's not going to get us anywhere.
Admiral, I wanted to pick up on what you're talking about in terms of allies, but look at America's allies in the Middle East. One of the ways that folks could look at the president's rhetoric on Iran right now is that, this is exactly what happened before he then sat down with North Korea. But Iran is different in the sense that America's allies in the region do not want the U.S. to sit down and talk to Iran or engage Iran diplomatically. They have a very different view, unlike China and South Korea had about North Korea. So how does that impact the president's move forward and in terms of whether he can dial this back and it leads to something other than some sort of military confrontation?
No, you're absolutely right to raise that. And it's sort of two legs of a partnership in the Middle East, right? It's the Sunni allies led by our close partners in Riyadh, particularly Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And, of course, it's Israel, the democracy in the region, and our closest ally, partner, and friend. Interestingly, those two are kind of moving close together, but neither of them is looking for a war with Iran. And I think that we need to really watch this as in two dimensions. One is Saudi and Israeli cooperation in intelligence, in missile defense, in cyber. And secondly, it's the Arabian Gulf. It's that body of water in between Saudi Arabia and Iran that is going to be the potential flashpoint, because here's the punchline, and here's what drove that tweet. The Iranians are talking about closing that waterway and choking off oil if they are sanctioned. If they do that, and they've done it before, they did it in the 80s, they did it in the 90s. If they do that, can you spell gas prices rising and disruption in the oil markets? That's what's causing this visceral reaction from President Trump. And it is a very dangerous game of chicken to be playing.
So, Admiral, we see from the president this kind of contrast or this conflict internally. He wants more conflict. He's bellicose, and he rattles his saber. At the same time, he takes fewer efforts and fewer pains to keep our allies close. So what's the end game here if we're going into more conflict with fewer and fewer friends?
Yeah, unfortunately, America First is starting to turn into America Alone. And it's not just the NATO piece of it in the NATO summit, as we pointed out. It's that G7 summit in Charlevoix, Canada. And here's a news flash. We've got the G20 coming up. So now we've got an opportunity to break relations not only with the 7 leading economies in the world, but the top 20. So as a strategy, it is fraught, and it will not succeed. And at the end of the day, the greatest strength this country has is that network of alliances, partnerships, and friendships around the world. It's a hollow strategy.
And Admiral, one more time this weekend, Donald Trump once again denied that Russia interfered with the 2016 election. I mean, if you're Dan Coates, if you're Gina Haspel, if you're in the intel community, what do? Just keep putting out statements, letting the world know what the world already knows, that the President of the United States is lying?
I think that's true for almost everybody, but I'm going to say that former Ambassador Dan Coates, for whom I have a lot of respect, I've worked with him for over a decade, known him a long time, but I think he's in a special category. He's the head of that intelligence community. That's what the Director of National Intelligence was established to do, was to kind of be the leader of the band. And when the president goes after that entire community, I think that Ambassador Coates, Senator Coates, Director Coates ought to be thinking quite seriously about resigning. That's a personal decision for him. I know he's in it to serve the country, but he's been undermined at every turn, and you have to ask yourself, when does your self-respect light go on?
Well, and again, the president has lied repeatedly over the past week. He then reversed his lie when he got caught lying. Then he reversed back and started lying again, seemed to reverse back. And now, again, lying again about the intelligence community, lying about what everybody knows, lying about what you could actually probably get all courts in America to take judicial notice about. It is not a question in any rational person's mind that Vladimir Putin and the Russians interfered in the 2016 election. Everybody knows it. Even Donald Trump, but he just keeps lying. What's that?
Absolutely. Absolutely correct.
All right.
And the fundamental problem is, how are our allies looking at that head-spinning series of reversals, Joe? It undermines confidence globally. Domestic actions have international consequences, and they can lead to war. It's a dangerous moment.
Such a dangerous time. Admiral, thank you as always. We appreciate it. And coming up next, the president falls out with his former fixer, lashing out at Michael Cohen over the weekend.
Yeah, his former fixer. They won't call him a lawyer. That's too easy. Meanwhile, you got Omarosa. She's coming out with a book claiming that Trump said the N-word or some
crazy stuff like that. Whatever, you know. Whatever.
Thank you all very much. I like Omarosa is a good person. Thank you all very much.
Who likes Omarosa? Omarosa is a good person. She's a good person, alright. Omarosa tells NPR she heard Trump, quote, N-word tape, end quote, contradicting her own tell-all book.
Support for NPR comes from Spotify. Did you know that every single episode of Hidden Brain is also available on Spotify? Yes, the same app that has millions of songs now also has thousands of podcasts. They're streaming.
Did y'all know that Alex Morgan now has on Spotify?
That exist on the line between incredible and unbelievable. The newest entry is Unhinged by Omarosa Manigault Newman. She went from breakout star of the first season of The Apprentice to senior White House aide. Now she's making explosive claims about her former friend and boss, President Trump. But as NPR's Tamara Keith reports, a key claim in the book may be thrown into doubt by an interview the author did this morning with NPR.
Manigault Newman sat down with NPR's Rachel Martin for an interview that was supposed to air Monday on Morning Edition. But an exchange from that interview is both newsworthy and potentially damaging to a central part of the narrative Manigault Newman weaves in her book. Unhinged starts and ends with Manigault Newman's hunt for what she calls the N-word tape. On the eve of the election, rumors swirled that there were recordings from the set of The Apprentice where Donald Trump used the racial slur. A producer from The Apprentice named Bill Pruitt said in an interview that the audio existed, though to this day it hasn't surfaced. In the book, Manigault Newman claims that she was forced to resign because she had gotten close to finding the tape. And the book ends with this, a call she made months after leaving the White House to someone who worked on The Apprentice. Here she is reading the key sentence.
On this phone conversation, I was told exactly what Donald Trump said. Yes, the N-word and others in a classic Trump goes nuclear rant.
This seems pretty clear. She didn't hear the tape, but was told what was on it. But that's not what she said in her interview with Morning Edition.
And once I heard it.
You have heard this tape?
I heard this tape.
You heard the President of the United States?
The President of the United States use not only the N-word, but as Bill Pruitt described during that interview, other horrible things during the production of The Apprentice.
You don't mention that in the book, that you've actually heard the tape. Is this new?
Oh, no, it's mentioned in the book.
But what Manigault Newman points to is that section she just read about the phone call. In the interview, Rachel Martin presses her to clear up the discrepancy.
Forgive me, though, that sounds like you just heard his account of the tape. Did you actually hear the tape?
I did.
Did you miss this whole book? Girl, did you read my book?
She did read the book. So did I. It's not there. In the book, Manigault Newman makes many claims about President Trump and others in the White House that would be shocking if true. That he has dementia, that he referred to people of color as those people. Sarah Sanders put out a statement that says in part, quote, "This book is riddled with lies and false accusations. It's sad that a disgruntled former White House employee is trying to profit off these false attacks. And even worse, that the media would now give her a platform after not taking her seriously when she had only positive things to say about the president during her time in the administration." Unquote. Those days are clearly over.
Donald J. Trump is not only a racist, but a misogynist and a bigot.
Manigault Newman told NPR it was hard to see those things when she was part of Trump's orbit.
But the things that I heard come out of this man's mouth on the tape that I describe in this book, it completely shattered my belief in him being a decent person.
But a big question now hangs over it all. Did she actually hear the tape as she claims now? Or did she simply hear a description of it, as she says in her book, Unhinged? Tamara Keith, NPR News.
I'm going to say that link because I'm making a Trump hater video, or movie, or documentary, or whatever you want to call it. You can promote it if you want to. Hey, I've got a lot in the works. I'm making a documentary about this place that I live in. I'm making a documentary about Trump haters, about the war on us poverty-stricken people. You guys have got to help me. If you guys want to win the war, then you've got to help me. Okay? If you want to lose, don't help me. That's all I've got to say. I hate to be that bare naked and saying it and being blunt and da-di-da, but yeah, I'm fighting for you, okay? I'm not only fighting for me, I'm fighting for you. And let's see what I think I remember watching this day before yesterday or whatever it was. If it's the video I'm thinking of. Yeah, it's MSNBC accusing Donald Trump of Twitter distraction amid scandals. I don't think it's very long. We'll end the show on this, maybe. Yeah, I urge you guys to share this stuff. I urge you guys to share these links. I urge you guys to come together.
Trump, his family, and his network of aides, lawyers, former aides, and former fixers looks to be at an all-time high. Bob Mueller's prosecutors are now 10 days into their first trial of a former Trump aide, campaign chair Paul Manafort, who watched his case get harder this week as another Trump aide who worked on the campaign, Rick Gates, was confessing to crimes on the stand. Now, for all the indictments and evidence and the general rancor of the Trump presidency, this week did mark the first time a former Trump aide ever did confess publicly to a crime. Gates telling jurors he committed felonies with Paul Manafort. That is a fact. That is news. That is legally concerning for Donald Trump and politically concerning, as confessions are not a great message heading into the midterms. But Donald Trump has his own plan for midterm messaging, and while he didn't know this trial of this campaign chair would be on track for a verdict right heading into Labor Day, which is, of course, a key time for the midterms, he has long known that he has his own plan to try to divert attention towards a different political fight. In fact, he told a confidant earlier this summer he would revive his attacks on the NFL over people who kneel in protest directly leading up to the midterms because Trump believes, quote, its return to the headlines will help Republicans win votes. And there it is. Today, Donald Trump re-upping his attacks on NFL players over the kneeling. This is on a Friday, heading into the anniversary, of course, of that Charlottesville White Power rally. We're not going to read the tweet tonight from the president attacking the players in last night's game because it's not particularly newsworthy, and we're not going to show you all the headlines it sparked. You can imagine there were many of them. The actual developments, though, we are going to show you because that is what Trump is distracting from, and they include Mueller pressing this week for a wider interview with Trump than he's willing to give, which could launch a Supreme Court fight. It includes Mueller putting an associate of Roger Stone in the grand jury box just today and getting another Roger Stone aide held in contempt today for refusing to testify at all in this probe. It also includes the issuance of a new subpoena to an associate of both Stone and Julian Assange, Randy Credico, news that first broke exclusively on MSNBC Thursday night. Now, that's a lot of subpoenas and interviews of people around Roger Stone who, unlike most current White House aides, is actually someone who's worked closely, intimately with Donald Trump for many years. And those are all developments inside these investigations. When it comes to the criminal trial of Trump campaign chair Paul Manafort, prosecutors are now drawing some of the first lines in public back to the campaign, the administration, and corruption. Let's walk through this one because it's significant and it's new. Just today, a bank executive took the stand in this case to detail a $16 million loan that was provided to Paul Manafort, and noting that he got suspiciously fast approval for it by going directly to the CEO, a banker who wanted to serve in the Trump administration. And Manafort went ahead and wrote an email, so it's in writing, pushing that banker for the pivotal job of Army Secretary. There are other non-NFL developments dogging Trump tonight as well. This week marks the first time we had a person in Congress who was his first congressional endorser indicted on charges of insider trading and lying to the feds. This special election this week also saw Democrats improve their support by 10 points in a district that Donald Trump carried by about 11 in the crucial state of Ohio. If those trends continue, Republicans would hold power in House races where they do hold an 11-point edge or more, which would also look like a probable loss of control of the House of Representatives. Now, right now, that Republican's about a point ahead. The race has not officially been called. So while attacking football players who protest police brutality is one way to head into this weekend, let's also note many Americans taking a different tack. And others are doing simply what many people do on sad anniversaries, honoring the people who are no longer with us, like Heather Heyer, who was